guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, you are on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love pre-loved secondhand finds. I love to search for them. I love to decorate my home with them. I also am a reseller, but my passion is for finding items that need to be a little bit more loved and get a makeover. So in today's video, that is what we are doing. I am doing some thrift store makeovers for you all. One thing I'm always happy to find in thrift stores are candlesticks, especially if they are a pair. They are hot sellers in my retail booth, and they're pretty easy makeovers, especially if you add these round wooden coasters from Hobby Lobby onto the top of them. I don't know what it is about adding that piece of wood and covering up where like a candlestick would go, but I have really good luck reselling candlesticks, especially if I can find pairs. So all I'm doing is using some quick and tight Titebond glue to glue them to the top. And yes, I'm going to be painting white candlesticks white, but I don't know, that white paint is almost like it's just a chalk that's on there. It's not sealed with anything. It just is going to be getting really dirty. So what I'm going to be painting them over with is a flour sack by Sweet Pickins, and I'm hoping to get a chippy aged look on them to be more of a salvaged wood type of pieces. But I have them painted up with 2 coats of paint. They are crackly. You can't really see it from like the white on white, but I know it's there. You can see a little bit of chippage going on. So I'm getting these sealed in with some Weather Defense clear coat. Your milk paint you need to seal in with something, and I could have just used the aging wax, but if I use the aging wax on raw milk paint, it would have made that white more of a brown, and I just really want to use the aging wax by Fusion to bring out the crackling and the crazing, take off some of that chippiness that's chipping. So what it does, it gets down in those crevices and really makes it look like a salvaged piece. So if you want more of a brown candlesticks, don't seal them in before you use your aging wax, but I just wanted the wax to emphasize that beautiful grazing and crackling going on. Here's something that's showing up a lot. You see these in the thrift store. Hobby Lobby's galvanized farmhouse signs. So I'm going to share with you how I'm going to be making it over. Of course I had to hold it up because it is so big, but I want to make it look older than what it is. And unfortunately to do that, I'm also going to have to paint up the back. So let's get to it. And yes, thrift store prices are what thrift store prices are. No matter where you go shopping, the price is what the price is. So first thing, I need to get this tag off the back because as I said, I'm going to be painting up the back. I know it probably seems silly to paint up the back, but if I'm going to spend all that time making the front of this look old, and you flip it over and you just see that new aged galvanized, and your brain would be like, what's going on here? So anyway, so the simple fix for that is just to spray paint the back of it black. So I'm just spray painting it with Rust-Oleum's enamel black and the flat sheen. That way you can't tell that it was a newer sign, hopefully. Oh, the tags. Just a little tag removal before we clean it off with some Dawn dish soap and some hot water. And then I'm going to be using some grip tight on it to help my paint adhere to that metal. Now you can pre-sand if you wanted to, or you can use some type of a bonding agent like Fusion's Grip Tight. Grip tight is recommended to sit for 12 hours. I can't say I always let it do that. I'll do it like first thing in the morning and make this my last craft, even though that's not the order that I'm sharing them all with you. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and seal that really raw wood that would just soak in my paint with some shellac. Now, if it hits the metal, that's just one more thing that's going to help my paint adhere to that metal if I get some shellac on it. So I want to make an aged chippy look like the paint has wore off, but I want to do a couple layers. So first I'm going to layer on a green. I'm going to mix equal parts basil with pantry door, and I'm trying to achieve that old-timey green color, just a color to go underneath. So equal parts powder, equal parts water, stir for 2 minutes, and then sit it off the side and let it thicken up. The nice thing about wanting to achieve a chippy look is I don't have to have total coverage. I am putting a nice generous coat on there, hoping that the thicker the way that I'm applying the paint, the more that it'll crack and crazed and chip off. Even though I want it to bond. I know, it seems silly, doesn't it? But yes, I don't have to have complete coverage. I just need to get the paint on, and if some of it's showing through, that is perfectly fine. Now I let my green paint dry, and now I'm going to mix up some more of that flower sack color, one of my favorite go-to whites. I use it a lot. So yes, sometimes it starts to thicken up, and sometimes you need to make a fresh batch even though you're working on multiple projects. So yes, now that this is dry, I told you it did not have complete coverage. Look at that chippy and crazing going on. So same thing, I don't have to have complete coverage. I just need to get the paint on. So I am applying it kind of thick, as you see, not trying to make it nice and thin or anything like that. It'll probably pool up around the letters because of it being raised and bumpy, and we'll just work with whatever the item's going to give us. If you want to help it along like I do, you can take a heat gun, a blow dryer or something to dry it. Oh, I love watching it crack like that. It just makes my heart happy. My last color for this sign is going to be Sweet Pickins Lantern, the black. Yes, I am. I'm going to color in all the lettering. The nice thing about it is they're raised, and they don't have to be perfect because we're going to make this piece aged. It's a little bit of time, a little bit of steady hand, maybe a small paintbrush, but it's the look that I'm going for, and I want to achieve it. And I find painting very relaxing, even when you have to go down to detail work like this. Like getting up close and personal with some cracking. I absolutely love how this is turning out. So now I'm just going to go ahead with some 150 sandpaper, and I'm going to distress that wood. I'm going to distress the black where I just painted on. That way, that's what I said. I didn't have to be perfect with my lines of painting those raised letters because I was going to distress them, and you won't even be able to tell. And anything that's going to chip off at this moment is going to chip off. I wanted to do the same thing I did with the candlesticks and give it some of that aging wax. But as I said earlier, if I do the aging wax on the raw white paint, it will turn it brown. So I'm going to go ahead and get that sealed in with the clear coat of Weather Defense also. And since every project has a mind of its own, it's always good to have a clear wax next to you in case you need an eraser. So I'm just going to start wiping this on. I love how the aging wax gets into all those crevices, and I love the chippiness coming through and where it chipped off all the way down to the metal. It does not bother me in the least. I wanted this to look like it's been outside and been in the weather. So yeah, so if I felt like it was starting to grab, for whatever reason, every item takes differently. So as an eraser, just use a little bit of a clear wax and that'll control and wipe it down, but it'll still stay in those little cracks and crevices. So this little piggy has lots of tattooing going on. So lots of wording, lots of stamping. It is engraved into the resin. And that's not what I would picture for a pig on a stand. I love animals on a stand. I don't know what it is, but I cannot walk away from them. So of course he had to come home with me. So to fill those all that engraving in, I'm going to use some of the spackling, the pink one that turns white when it's dry, and just use my finger and get it all rubbed in there and try to get most of it filled in. So since I'm applying this with my finger, I can make this nice and smooth. So I'm trying to feather it out towards the face and towards the back end so that it's nice and flat so I don't have as much sanding to do when it's dry. Now that he's dry, he kind of looks like a little sheep, but he's still a pig. He's got his curly tail. So I'm just taking some 220 sandpaper. I'm not going to try to make this completely smooth because I'm afraid that I would like spackling sand so easy that I'd get right back down to that engraving. So all I'm going to do is make sure that all my peaks are off. A little bit of texture will just give it more character. Once I'm satisfied with my sanding job, I'm just going to give him a brushing off because you don't want to get that spackling wet again because there again it'll turn back to pink. But I am going to seal it in with a couple coats of shellac. That way that I can paint it and it's not just absorbing in the paint. After my shellac is dry, I'm going to go ahead and just paint the entire piece black. So just sealing it in and covering up that spackling that's been sealed in with shellac with a coat of Rust-Oleum's matte flat black. So now that I have him all painted black, you can see that he still has texture, but that's perfectly fine. The wording is what I wanted to get rid of. Texture is just more character. So now I'm using the flour sack that I used from previously of painting the farmer's market sign to paint up this little piggy because I'm hoping that he will get a chippy look. Now, as I said, my flour sack has been sitting a little bit, so it's thickened up just a little bit. So you can tell that it's going on a little bit heavier. But after getting both sides done and it dried, oh, that chippiness, that crazy, I got some bumpiness, but I'm not going to touch that until I get it sealed in with some Weather Defense. Oh my gosh, I'm just in love with how much crackle and crazing is going on this paint job. I wanted to get this sealed in before I sanded those little bumps off where I probably didn't get the mixture, maybe my powder ratio not mixed up enough, or where it had thickened towards the bottom when I was stirring it up. It could have been chunks of that. Whatever, sometimes you just leave them on there because you can just make them a hot mess. So what I did was seal it in, so now I can go through and go get those and sand those chunks down without sanding it all the way off. I finished this little piggy off. As soon as I put that aging wax on there, I knew I was in love, and that's the way I wanted it to stay. Now, isn't this little cubby just so super cute? Though something has been spilled on it and the inside of it is really dirty, like the top cubby is really dirty. So it is going to be getting a makeover, even though it's pretty darn cute. And talk about taggage. Holy cow. I think that was like wallpaper for the bottom of this. So it's been on there a while. So let's see if I can get it to release using a heat gun to hopefully reactivate that sticky. And there's just not an easy way to hold this thing up to get that off. Fortunately, it's been on there so long, it's just kind of disintegrating it. A little bit the heat gun is helping. I probably should have just taken the power sander and sanded it off, but that's really not that thick a piece of wood. I don't know about you all, but once I start something, I am determined to finish it. So I wasn't going to let this tag win. I was going to get it off one way or another, and it finally did come off. So I do need to sand the piece a little bit. It does have some oddities on there, even out the little hand paint job. That is a raised paint job that somebody did some beautiful flowers on. I'm not sure what the spillage on the front of that drawer was. Maybe it was coffee. I don't know. That would seem a little odd. Who knows? You never know when you thrift an item. But I am going to get it cleaned up a little bit more with some Dawn dish soap and some hot water. I really love the age of this piece, and I really would like some of that white to show through. Even if some of the flowers show through, that would be kind of cool too. So I'm going to be painting this blue, but I don't want the ocean to be too overpowering dark blue. So I'm going to go ahead and mix in some of the window pane just to tone that blue down a little bit. So as you can tell, it definitely needed to have 2 coats. Unfortunately, there wasn't like clean lines of stopping, so I had to just paint the entire piece. Now that it's dried, though, I'm going to take some 200 sandpaper and I'm going to go ahead and start sanding, smoothing out that paint job, see what is going to distress, what's going to chip off. Now, I didn't prime this with anything, like I didn't spray any shellac on it. That would have made it so that the white paint probably didn't show through, but I kind of wanted the white paint. I like that chippy aged look. I like that vintage white that was underneath there peeking through. I'm going to make sure that everything has been sanded, just finishing this off with some fine grit steel wool before waxing it with some Jolie's black wax. And so I'm just getting the black wax on, and then I'm going to take some of that natural clear wax and rub it in, and it really kind of controls the darkness, but I love black wax on this ocean color. My next makeover, I'm going to my downloads. I'm looking for an image. I have a canister that I want to put a label on, and I'm giving it kind of a primitive vibe with this primitive bird. So much fun. So it's just already in my downloads. I purchased this off Etsy. I can then copy it onto my Excel program, and then I can size it to what I need to put it on my canister. I do not have anything fancy for a printer. I just have a Canon printer that I purchased from Walmart. It's just a regular old inkjet printer. I print it right out on copier paper. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use some of the decoupage transferring gel from Fusion, and I'm going to attach my image to another piece of copier paper, one that's going to make it a little bit thicker and is going to give that background a nice pop of white so the image really stays crisp. I cut off most of the excess paper, but just leaving just a little bit because I'm going to give the edges a burn look by burning them. So the paper is still wet from the decoupage transfer gel, but the outer paper, the copier paper, is not. It is dry, so that is what it's going to burn. So I just have like a Clorox wipe in a little bit of water to just extinguish the flame and make sure that I have something under control. These are one of the very few times all I really did on this thrifted canister from Goodwill was wipe it down with a dry cloth because I did not want to ruin the beautiful patina that it has going on. Oh my gosh, it has aged wonderfully, and I am not painting that piece. I think it's gorgeous, but I am going to add this label. Oh, that canister is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure if most people would have paid $3 for it at Goodwill, but I did. I thought it was gorgeous. So now I'm going to add some of the Hobby Lobby's Beige Baby's Breath. I love this stuff. The label's coordinating with the color. I'm just going to go ahead and fill up this vessel with a few pieces of the Dollar Tree floral foam. I do need to cover up that green florifoam, so I'm just going to be using some of this Spanish moss. Just a thin layer, just enough to cover it up. You don't want to put so much on that you can't poke your stems in through there, but yes, you definitely need to cover up that florifoam. I use 3 full stems to fill up this. I like my arrangements to be nice and full, but I do feel like it needs a little bit. The baby grass is sticking up a little bit taller. The canister has a little bit of a neck on it, so I just think I need to tie something around it. So I have this black ticking stripe, that black and cream, so the cream almost matches that baby's breath. So I'm just going to cut 3 pieces, and I know I'm going the wrong way, but if I went the other way with this ticking stripe, it wouldn't be enough to trundle down. So this is the way I'm cutting it this time. After pulling most of the extra strings off, I'm going to go ahead and stain the fabric just a little bit. I have instant coffee in a spray bottle. A viewer's tip. Love this. It is working out perfectly. It's so super handy. So it's always ready. So just spraying it on and then drying a little bit of it off. There's still some strings coming out. That's okay. I'll just work with it and take those off as I'm working with them, making sure that it's just what it does. It just I cut it in strips, so I'm going to get strings. So no biggie there, but I'm going to tie all 3 around at the same length. I almost forgot to seal my label in. I already put away my decoupage in transfer gel, so I'm just going to take some clear wax, just something to seal and protect that paper. So do you all go into a thrift store and you have an idea in your head and you're like, I'll never find it, I'll never find it, I'll never find it. And I finally found it. A thicker frame. I needed a frame where I could put something a little bit more than just paper behind. And when I saw these and they had those double pieces of cardboard in there, I knew they were a little bit on the thicker side. For those of you who love those frames, don't worry, I am not painting it. It's about what's going inside the frames today. I have a couple pieces of copied music sheets. They're the smaller pages, perfect background, but they're a little bit too white. I need to age them. I told you that bottle of instant coffee mixture is very handy. Though I do like the darker pieces sometimes of the instant coffee granules on the paper, so I still could probably just throw some on there if I wanted to. But for this one, I'm just aging it, just spraying the whole sheet down. Now I'm just going to walk away and let these papers dry. Such an easy way to age paper. I even like the crinkling that it gets. So, like I said, so the inside of this has more room than a regular frame where you just put a piece of paper. So those two pieces of cardboard were kind of a giveaway. I was like, oh, awesome, there's space in there because I want to fill it up, not like a shadow box, but I want to fill it up a little bit more than just paper. And these are perfect. I actually picked these set of 5 canvases instead of having to cut cardboard, which I could have cut cardboard, but they were at the Dollar General, so you know they weren't very much money. So I'm going to go ahead and decoupage transfer gel the music paper onto these. So saves me a step that I don't have to cut out. Not that it's hard to cut out cardboard by any means, but it's really easy just to glue it onto these canvases. If you're wondering what's the difference between Mod Podge and the Fusion's decoupage transfer gel, well, the transfer gel doesn't bleed out your color. Sometimes Mod Podge does. I've had that happen where it's changed my color of my image that I printed off, or not necessarily true decoupage paper, but when I do my copier paper it has. So it's just nice having this transfer gel that will not do that. Set those off to the side. I let them dry. They are dry now, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the excess paper. You know, the board is going to go a little bit underneath the frame anyway, and you're not really going to see that edges. I didn't need to necessarily make sure that everything was down like permanently tight because it's going in a sealed frame. I was gluing them down. I just needed to make sure that I was centered. I didn't have like the 3-ring binding holes. And then the bottom, I didn't want the title really on there. I just wanted you to see the music sheet. So now I'm playing around with some of the thinnest dried flowers that I have. The spring line at Hobby Lobby for dried flowers is out, and when they're 40% off, it is a great deal, and you get a lot of dried flowers to work with. So this is why I needed to find a frame that had more space between the glass and the backing so that I didn't just smush these tight and break them all apart. I love that look of the music paper that's aged with that dried flowers. Oh my gosh, such a simple, well, it's simple once you find the frame. So thank you for watching today's video, and as always, have I inspired you in any way to look at secondhand finds in a new way? And give me a quick comment down below which of the items I made over today were your favorites. So again, thanks for watching today's video, and as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you want to be part of our YouTube family and you love to go thrifting, you love to make items over, and you love to decorate your home with these items like I do, please smash that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video. And I will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!